So many people look at Jesus and they think he was a great guy. He was a great moral teacher, he was a great philosopher, great religious leader, but he was nothing more than that. But the problem is that is not just outside of the church. That actually can happen inside of the church, especially right now in the moment we find ourselves in. I would describe one of the massive problems in the church right now is there is a lack of theological depth in our preaching, in our teaching, in our pulpits, in our ministries. I mean, I hope that's not the case here, right? I try really hard as a church. We try really hard to teach the Bible faithfully, to be faithful to the scriptures, to be robust theologically and to think theologically about things. But this is not the case. And in many liberal denominations in particular, especially many mainline denominations, although it's not just mainline denominations any longer that can be accused of this, but what we see is that they have a very low view of Jesus. They really start to emphasize more the justice aspect of the ministry of Jesus. So they love to highlight that Jesus was for the poor. They love to highlight that Jesus loved the marginalized. And don't get me wrong, he did indeed love the poor. He did indeed love the marginalized. They love to highlight the fact that he fed the hungry. But when it comes to his death on the cross and his resurrection, what ends up happening in these liberal denominations and in these churches that are not thinking theologically robust, what ends up happening is Jesus' death on the cross gets reduced down to this poor victim Jesus who died at the hands of rich, wealthy oppressors. And they have this low view of Jesus. He's been reduced to merely being our example. That's all he is. He's just our example, but he's nothing more. And here's the problem with this view of Jesus. If we're to view Jesus in that light, that he's merely a man, he's merely our example, then what we're left with is a Jesus that does not have the power to save us. He does not have the power to save us from our sins. He does not have the power to save us from the brokenness of the world. He does not have the power to reconcile us back into a right relationship with God. And so where does that leave us as people? It leaves us having to save ourselves. So where we end up now is trying as hard as we can to be as good as we can because we really, really, really want to make God happy. And we've actually taken the gospel and we flipped it completely on its head. Instead of God being loving, gracious, and kind, and us receiving his mercy, we are the ones who are now loving, gracious, and kind. And we're doing it so that we can earn God's love and mercy.